Okay, to make the hair, it's pretty easy. You're just basically making a curly Q. And she said that she made her longest 25 chains, and she also made her smallest was a chain of 8, which would make a small one like about here. So comparing the sizes, there's a big difference. So it's up to you. You can make them a variety of different ways. You can make them all long if you want, or make some of them half, maybe about this long, and then make some very long to use underneath, and then the smaller ones to put on top. This one I made a lot of long ones that I kind of hit sewn on the side, and I did the same on the other side. And then I kind of filled in. Can't really see, it's too close. And then I filled in to make it thicker with smaller ones. I never really made a tiny one, except at the end, and I made it right here just to sew here to cover up this little sewing area. And this is the tail. I made some long ones down at the bottom to sew along the bottom, and then I made some medium ones to go next, and then I made some short ones to just go on the top to fill it out. So you may want to start with making a few long ones like I did, and then sew those on, and then you can start filling them in with the medium and smaller ones as you see fit. I mean, she recommends to make 4 of each color, but with this I just used 1 color, and I just eyeballed it to give the look that I want. So I'm going to show you how to make the hair, and you can get started. Okay, so when she means by make a length of chain of stitches, she's talking about just chain. And she said the biggest one was 25, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to go 18 for this one. So you can do a chain of 25, a chain of 8, chain of 10, 12. You choose a number, and then you can see how it comes out. This is 18. So you're going to skip the first, so it's going to be 17 when you get done. And if you want it to be exactly 18, you can chain 1, begin with a chain of 19, and then go down. So I guess I'm going to do a chain of 19, so when I start my second stitch, it'll be 18. So in the first chain, you'll want to work 2 single crochets, and you'll continue that down the length of your chain, just putting 2 single crochets in each chain. And you'll see pretty quickly that it's going to start to curl on you. So just continue on down, doing your 2 single crochets, and see how it's already twirling on me, making a curl. So continue to do that, and I'll show you how I end this hair. So when you get done with your last 2 single crochets on your chain here, you can clearly see it's kind of twirled now. What I do is I get my tail where I first began my chain, and I just put it on top of my yarn here, so that when I do my slip stitch, I should say my chain here to end it, it'll be inside that area. You don't really need a lot of tail to sew your hair on, so you don't need to leave a long old tail. Now you're left with these 2 tails. You have one that's kind of long and one that's short. And the short one, you can go ahead and hide right away. I'm going to go down this side of my stitches here on this side and just hide it down here so you don't have that extra tail. Cut it near as you can to the project without cutting your project, and that will leave you with your little hair here. Okay, before you start sewing it together, let's take inventory and make sure that we have all the pieces that we need. You should have a body and a head. 2 ears, 2 eyes, whether button or crochet, 1 horn, and 4 legs, and also your hair, your curlicue hair. Once you have all those pieces, you can start sewing them together. And I recommend starting with the head first. Okay, first things first. Now the head, where you began and where you ended it, the part where you began will be bigger, slightly probably, than this part. Not to mention that's better looking and easier to work with when you're trying to sew on your hair. So we're going to sew our head onto this part. So thread your needle, and remember you want it to be slightly on the side. On her pattern she has you can look at her pictures that she has and it'll help you. So I'm going to go somewhere in the middle area, just above the middle. So you can see here where I brought my yarn together. And I'm just going to go slightly above that and to the right, because I'm going to start sewing from the right over. And just pull your yarn there. Now this is where you want to make adjustments to the head. Pull it out, move it exactly where you want it. Remember, you want it slightly like this, so then you can start working. Since I'm already my yarn's coming out of the body, I'm going to go into the head up here. Right on the edge there. Then now I'm going to go through the top of the head here, slightly to the side, and then find a stitch on the body that's kind of coincides with it. And I'm just going to pull through to secure that. Now we have kind of the direction that we want. We just have to make sure we secure it that way, and make sure it's not looking too much down when you sew it. Every stitch you have a chance to adjust, so just make sure you're always adjusting your piece and going in through the body and through the head. And it's very difficult to do this correctly on camera, so I'm gonna do my sewing majority off camera. Since you want it to be kind of down, you'll want to sew not here, but like here, a little bit on the head. So I'm going to go through my body a little bit here, and I'm going to go slightly in towards my head here. Now I got that little bit going. Now if you just hold it with your finger, you can find the right, and if you need to go through the body first, do that, and then find the right place on the head, and then put the needle through there. You don't have to always go through both of them at the same time. It's actually easier if you don't. So you can find the next place on your body, put through your needle, and then find where you want it on the head. And it's looking pretty good. I'm going all the way around here. Just want to make sure it's secure, and that when the kid goes to grab it, or sorry, the child, the head's not gonna fall off, because you don't want that. Okay, I think I've got it pretty good. Make sure you look for any spaces, but remember, it's going to be covered a lot by hair, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And when you got it on there pretty good and you like it, then just follow down the body. This is how you'll hide it. Pull the tail down, and you can cut. And that's our first piece. Now I usually like to sew on the eyes next. I don't like to sew the eyes on the head beforehand because you never know how you're going to adjust the head, and you don't want one eye here and one over to the side. So now you have it. And you can place both eyes about here. Remember, you're going to have a horn here, so put your horn here just to kind of eyeball it. And also don't forget you're going to have an ear here as well, but the ear will be down. So if I have my ear here and my horn here, then the eye should look pretty good right there. So it's going to be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 rows up is the center of my eye. So I'm going to thread my eye here. Now I still have this other one stuck. Okay, so about right here. On either side, you don't want it to be like that unless you do want them to be so close, but either side of the head is usually the best. Okay, while holding it, just want to go through the face and the eye at the same time. And I do one that way, and then I go through here and go back the other direction. And it's usually pretty good. It doesn't usually come apart. Now if you just want to go through the black once just to secure it, you can. You don't have to go through the face again. But cut it as close as you can. And this flat part here is supposed to be the right side, but considering it's kind of tight, you have the wrong side sticking up a bit, and that's the part that's I'm letting be shown, because the flatter part of the eye can go against. Now you want to line them up again. It's a little easier now that you have one on the other side. Then again, I'm going through the black and into the body, and then coming back up through the black. Do that twice. Do it on this side, and then now come in through this bottom part and through the head. At least one stitch through the head, and then back up through the black. It can be hard sometimes. I have to push it down. Okay. Then you can make any kind of adjustments that you want to make for the eye now before you cut your yarn. If you have any parts that are sticking out along the side, like I do a little bit here, it's kind of sticking out a bit, I can go in and do another one if I want. But don't cut your yarn until you're happy with it. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to cut my yarn. Then I got my eyes on there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put the ears on. Find both my ears. Find one. There's the other one. Now the ears, I like to, and it doesn't say to do this in the pattern. It doesn't really give sewing directions, but what I do is, since this is already kind of cupped like this and the wrong side is showing, what you can do is, see, sometimes you have this little bit that's sticking out and it doesn't look so good. I'm going to thread it back to that spot where it doesn't look so good. Then I'm just going to come down like this to pull it down. So I came up to it, and then I'm going to go on the other side of this little spot. Okay, I threaded up to where I'm on this side of it so that I can use my yarn to pull it down to make it look a little better. And I'm going to come out, this is the tip, I'm going to come out slightly to the right, at least 1 or 2 stitches prefer at least 2. And it'll help it lay a bit flatter there. Okay, so now I'm on this side, at least 2 stitches here. And if you don't have a ugly side, you can just thread over 2 stitches. And then now you want to go back over 1 stitch. Pull it tight. And then I want to go back over again. There. I just want it to cup like that. So you can go through 1 chain and then go back to the next chain on the other side and keep going back and forth a little bit until you kind of brought it together a little bit. And I'll show you on this one too. See, this one doesn't look so bad on that side. So I'm already kind of on the side. So I'm just going to go into its partner, not partner, but it's equal on the other side. So this chain, just going to go through that chain. And then I'm going to go through 1 chain over again. And then it's equal on the other side over here. So about 2 stitches up is about it. And that's enough to fold it here where you have kind of a cup. And then now you want to sew those on. Same thing with the eyes. You want to do it kind of closer to the body. So just like off, closest to the body, but behind the ear, behind the eye. So you're using the body and the eye to guide you where you want to put the ear. So I'm going to put my stitch right here. Get out of the way, other ear. Okay, now you can adjust it however you want. And then you're going to do the exact same thing that you did sewing before, going through the body and then going through the piece. And make sure you adjust it as you go. I do like it to go a little bit over to the side. To droop just a little, because I like to have hair. I like to have it kind of drooping over a little to the side like this, because I like to have a hair that can come between the unicorn's horn and the ear like this. And it can do that if you leave enough space. And I do this one too. So when you've got your ear where you want it, you can do the same thing as you did before. You can either go up the body or go up the face. It's up to you, depending on where you're. And I have a little bit of a gap here, I see, between my head and my body. So I'm going to use this yarn I have already to fix this gap. Then I'm going to run it down the body like I did before. Cut your yarn. So that's one ear. And then go ahead and do the same thing for the other, using your other ear to help you align it, and your eye. So again, you're going to want to use the body and the eye to adjust. And of course, looking at him, you know that if it's like this and he's looking at you, that ain't good. And then when you think you got it, eyeball where you think it was, and put your thread there. Now, if you think that's a good spot, okay. If not, then you can rip it out, because you've done no real sewing yet. So now you can start to sew it. Okay, now for the horn. Now if you see the base of see how it's kind of tilted? This allows you to be able to choose whether you want to have it on the head with it like this, which would make it more of a upward one, or you can flip it this way and it would be more of a horn this way. Now, this one, I made it with the horn facing towards this way. And see, it kind of spikes out like this. I mean, you can see it looks kind of nice. Or you can do this way, which I think I like better, which is to have it stick more upward. So it's sticking up. To do that, you have to make sure that this little tilt is sticking up like this on the head. So you have a choice of it going this way or this way. So choose whichever way you want and find where you want it on the head. I'm going to stick it right there, dead middle. Oh, actually a little bit behind. Yeah, middle. Because you want to put hair there behind it. And that's what you got. Now this is the time to adjust. Adjust, adjust, adjust. Where you want this horn. And I think I have it a little further back than I want. So this is where you get to play with it and put it on the head exactly the way you want, because once it's sewn on, it's there. And again, just like you did before, when you're done sewing, you want to feed your thread right up to the tip of the horn, and then you just cut it as close to the project you can without cutting it, because especially this one, you don't want a little hair sticking up out of the horn. So there you go. Now I would recommend sewing the legs on next, which is the hardest part, and I hate to do the legs. But if you get all four of your legs together and you put them on straight, separating maybe about an inch in between, it'll stand up. So once you have at least two here that you want, you can either put a stitch marker to mark it here, or just eyeball it and thread your yarn here. Say you want to have it about here because you want it to be kind of underneath. Just thread it and let it go. Just put one stitch, because this is going to make it easier to mark and adjust. And this one, let's see, if I have one leg here, probably want the other one to be about here, so I'm going to put there you go. Now it's easier to mess around with it to see where you want it, and then you can start sewing on your piece. If you're not happy with it, you don't think it's even, remember, you don't want your legs to be over on the side and the head be like that, so use that head. You know, if you look straight down the head, you can put one kind of on either side to help align it. When you're sure you've got it, you can let one go and hold the other one and then start sewing the body to the leg. And always be adjusting it, because one or two stitches you can still move it around a bit. But once you start to get more than halfway down, you're going to be in trouble. And you'll mark the next set of legs the same way. I recommend putting a stitch in and holding that one there and stitch here and align it. And always be adjusting. Always adjust, 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 and make sure, check, 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 that they're equal this way and that they're equal with the head too. Okay, once you have all your legs sewn on, you're ready for the hair. And what you want to do is, like I said, start with some longer pieces. Actually, I'm going to start with a couple of smaller pieces just for this first one. Let's do a couple of small purple ones, because I like to make my first two pieces of hair come down in front of the eyes. And these, I believe, were like 8 or 10 chains. And I'm going to come right beside the ear, between the ear and the horn here. Pull that piece of hair up so that it'll fall there on the side. Then I just go right back through that same piece, that same stitch one more time, and then I find the chain part of my stitch here, and I just run my needle through it and then cut my yarn. That's how I sew them on. You'll do that for the other side too. At the same place, but just on the other side. Here we go. Now we'll have 2 pieces of hair that'll fall in the face. Again, I'm going to go right through again to that same stitch, go in the same direction, and it'll cause this loop to grab a hold. And then cut your yarn. Okay, so the next one, you want to go for another color. You want the hair to fall like that along the other side of the ear. So I'm going to be working with in between the ears now. Just going to grab up some of the stitch behind the ear, but behind the horn. You're basically working with the stitches in between the ears and behind the horn. And if you pull it up through here, now you have this. And even if you want to do some shorter ones, but you want to thicken it out here, you can actually add it to the side of the body here, and then just add more hair on top to hide it. You'll learn different tricks. I'm going to show you how I do the tail real quick so that you can start messing with your hair and turn off the video. Okay, to make the tail, again, I would start with a couple of long curls, and then you can start on the upper right side. Pull your tail through and then check it and see, because you want it to be kind of long, but you don't necessarily want it to go past the feet too much. And this one doesn't. It's like just above the feet, so that's good for me. I'm happy with that. I don't need to go any higher, so I'm going to leave that there. And then you'll do your other tail on the other side. Now on the other opposite side, on this side, I'll do the same thing. They're the same length. I did try to make 2 small ones and 2 big ones, so that way each color has a couple of bigs and a couple of smalls I can mess around with. And I do like to start with my long ones on the tail first. To get a good idea where I want to put the rest of them. You can adjust it any way you want. You can make more hair than the pattern calls for. I usually like to get a couple of medium-sized ones to go for the tail. So you can get like another medium one and sew it to there, like this, which is kind of like the space in between these two. sew one here, sew one here. And then you got a good base, long and short. And then you can sew right underneath. Start sewing along underneath, leaving this top to kind of hide it. You can take some longer or medium size and sew it on either side of the hole here. And it'll start thickening it out a bit. And it's the same with the front here. Work your way down the sides, coming from the middle and seeing how they fall. Try to go with each color on each side, and then if you want to make it thicker on the side, you can make some smaller ones to just sew right onto the body so that these hairs will fall on them and it'll be thicker on the side. So that is it. That is how you make your little unicorn by Sheepdog's Fleece. I want to thank Rachel for letting me do this tutorial. And if you haven't yet, please go check out my Facebook page. It has lots of patterns and stuff that I share from other people, so it's a good pattern source. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet or first time watcher, please take a moment to do that. And anytime you like or share my videos, it helps me so much. So I appreciate all the help you can give. So that's it. Thank you so very much for watching.